The first time I lied and called my neighbor my girlfriend, I thought it would last no more than 10 seconds. I never imagined that a single desperate sentence would change the course of both our lives forever. Standing in the middle of a crowded apartment lobby with dozens of strangers walking past, I felt trapped by a man who simply refused to accept the word no. My heart pounded as I searched for any escape, and the only familiar face I saw was the woman from apartment 4B walking toward us with grocery bags in both hands. Without thinking, I pointed toward her and said she was my girlfriend. Before I could apologize or explain, she looked straight into my eyes, stepped beside me, gently slipped her hand into mine, and quietly said, "Don't take it back." In that single moment, everything changed. Before we continue this emotional journey, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more heartfelt stories that remind us how powerful compassion can be. I had lived in that apartment building for almost 3 years, yet I barely knew any of my neighbors. Like many people, I left early for work, returned exhausted, nodded politely in the hallway, and disappeared behind my own door. The woman from 4B was different from everyone else. Her name was Emma, and although she was always polite, there was a quiet sadness behind her smile that made it seem as though she carried invisible weight every single day. We exchanged greetings from time to time, held the elevator door for one another, and once shared umbrellas during a heavy storm, but that was the extent of our relationship. We were strangers connected only by thin apartment walls. That afternoon, I had stopped in the lobby to collect a package when a man began questioning me about Emma. At first I assumed he was a friend looking for directions, but his tone quickly became demanding. He insisted she had been avoiding him and demanded that I tell him when she usually came home. Something about his expression unsettled me. There was anger hidden beneath forced politeness, and every answer I gave only seemed to make him more frustrated. When he noticed Emma entering through the front doors, his entire posture changed as he hurried toward her. I didn't think. I simply reacted. I walked directly to Emma and wrapped an arm gently around her shoulder before announcing that she was my girlfriend. The stranger froze for a moment. I expected Emma to pull away immediately and expose my lie. Instead, she looked from my nervous face to the angry man standing nearby. Somehow she understood everything without a single explanation. She reached for my hand, squeezed it tightly, and told me not to take the words back. The confidence in her voice surprised all of us. The man stared for several uncomfortable seconds before muttering something under his breath and leaving the building. Only after the front doors closed behind him did Emma release my hand. We stood there in complete silence. I apologized repeatedly, embarrassed by what I had done. I expected her to be angry, but instead she smiled with tears gathering in her eyes. She admitted that the man had been her former boyfriend. Their relationship had ended months earlier after years of controlling behavior, but he refused to accept that it was over. She had changed her phone number, moved apartments, and tried rebuilding her life, yet somehow he had found her again. As we spoke that evening over cups of coffee in the building's small community lounge, I realized how lonely she had been. She confessed she rarely trusted anyone because every act of kindness made her wonder whether someone wanted something in return. I understood that feeling better than she realized. My own life had been shaped by disappointment after losing both my parents within a few years of each other. Since then, I had buried myself in work, convincing myself that independence was safer than depending on people who could disappear. Over the following weeks, our accidental lie quietly transformed into genuine friendship. We began sharing evening walks after work. Sometimes we talked for hours. Other times we simply enjoyed the silence. She loved photography and noticed beauty in places I had never even looked. She would stop to photograph old brick walls covered with vines, children laughing in neighborhood parks, or sunlight reflecting through rainy windows. She taught me that ordinary moments often carried extraordinary meaning if someone took the time to notice them. Little by little, I saw Emma becoming happier. She laughed more freely. The nervous habit of constantly checking over her shoulder slowly disappeared. I found myself looking forward to every conversation with her. For the first time in years, my apartment no longer felt like an empty place where I simply slept between workdays. It began feeling like home because someone nearby genuinely cared whether I had made it through the day. But healing is never a straight path. One rainy evening, Emma didn't answer my messages. Hours passed before I heard loud voices echoing through the hallway. Rushing outside, I found her former boyfriend standing outside her apartment, demanding she open the door. Fear covered her face as she stood inside with the safety chain locked. I immediately called the police while remaining beside her door, refusing to leave her alone. The man shouted threats before finally running down the stairs when he realized officers were arriving. Although the situation ended without physical harm, the emotional damage was obvious. Emma confessed that she had spent months believing she would never truly be free. Watching her cry that night broke something inside me. I realized my feelings had quietly become far more than friendship. Yet I refused to confess them while she was vulnerable. Love should never grow from fear. She deserved to heal first. Months passed peacefully after legal action finally kept her ex away. During that time, we built something neither of us had expected. We celebrated birthdays together because there was no one else to celebrate with. We cooked dinners that often turned into hilarious disasters. We watched old movies, argued over which ending was better, and slowly learned every small detail that makes another person feel understood. One winter morning, I found a small envelope slipped beneath my apartment door. Inside was a photograph Emma had taken months earlier. It showed the two of us walking through the park without realizing someone had captured the moment using her camera's timer. We were laughing so hard that neither of us was looking at the lens. On the back she had written that sometimes the best pictures are the ones people never pose for because they reveal what the heart already knows. I stared at that photograph for a very long time. That evening I knocked on her door holding the same picture. Before I could say anything, she smiled the same quiet smile I had first seen in the apartment hallway. I admitted that calling her my girlfriend had been a lie born from panic, but somewhere along the journey I had begun wishing it had been true all along. I told her there was no pressure, no expectation, and no need for an immediate answer. I simply wanted her to know how deeply I respected, admired, and cared for her. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached for my hand exactly as she had months earlier in the apartment lobby. This time there was no frightened stranger watching us, no danger forcing us together, and no desperate reason to pretend. She simply held my hand because she wanted to. With tears shining in her eyes, she reminded me of the words she had spoken that unforgettable afternoon and softly admitted she had never wanted me to take them back because, in that single moment, she had finally felt safe. From that day forward, our relationship wasn't built on a dramatic confession or a fairy tale miracle. It was built on countless ordinary acts of kindness. It grew through trust, patience, healing, and showing up for each other every single day. We discovered that love often begins not with perfect timing, but with someone choosing to stand beside another person when walking away would have been easier. Special request: before the story ends, tell us in the comments, have you ever experienced a moment when one unexpected act of kindness completely changed your life? If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Your support encourages us to continue sharing stories that remind the world that hope, kindness, and second chances still exist. Looking back, I sometimes smile at the strange way our story began. A desperate lie spoken in fear became the first chapter of the most honest relationship either of us had ever known. Life has a remarkable way of turning unexpected moments into beautiful beginnings. Sometimes the person standing quietly next door isn't just another neighbor. Sometimes they are the answer to a prayer you didn't even know you were whispering. And sometimes, all it takes to change two lonely lives forever is the courage to hold someone's hand, and never let go.